As you might expect, there are lots of major media names covering this event in Indianapolis. Among them, someone who we respect greatly, Pete Thamel of the New York Times. Let's listen in as he is with my call.
Okay, Dave, Pete Thamel of the New York Times here. Let's start off with this. Is the penalty thorough enough?
You know, Mike, this is the word unprecedented was used a lot around here today, and I think this penalty, it's so hard because of the nature of the crimes to say a punishment is enough. But certainly this is a program that's going to handicap Penn State football for at least the next 7 years. And it's going to be hard. Their program will be a shadow of the self at new under Joe Paterno.
Which part will make them the most impacted by this?
Well, if you think about it, they have to be down to 65 scholarships from the normal 85 by 2014. So that means they're going to be in reduction mode for the next couple of years, and they'll also be limited to 15 incoming scholarships a year. But the most crippling part of this penalty, Mike, is the freedom for players to transfer. And players have a free pass to go wherever they want, incoming recruits and all the players in the program. The NCAA is basically inviting them to leave Penn State, and the potential of a mass exodus is really what could gut the Penn State program.
You cover this sport nationally, so give me some historical perspective on how harsh this penalty is from the NCAA.
Sure. I talked to David Burst inside, and David Burst announced the SMU penalty about 25 years ago, which is known of this generation to be the most significant and historic penalties. And David Burst said this is among the most serious he's ever seen the NCAA levy. So I really think this will go down historically as one of the most severe punishments that the NCAA has ever levied.
How will this affect the rest of the Big Ten?
You know, that's a good question. I really think, especially if you're in Penn State's division, you would think Penn State would be favored every year. And I would think that now Penn State is going to be an afterthought. I mean, recruiting is going to plummet. The ability to attract top athletes is just simply not going to be there because they cannot play for championships. So I really think this is going to weaken the Big Ten because Penn State is one of its big three. And without one of your big three, you're just simply not as good.
What are we to make of 1998 to 2011 now with those vacated wins? How do we look back at that time?
Sure. Well, you know, vacated wins is always an awkward topic because, you know, the games were played, the guys sweat, you know, on the field and bled for their team and won those games. But I honestly think that was basically an impediment to the legacy of Paterno, which has certainly taken quite a few hits with the statue going down yesterday and he not having the all-time wins record anymore. So, I mean, look, people make jokes about it, and players from that era certainly will be unhappy because they earned those wins on the field, but the NCAA sent a clear macro message with that penalty, and they said, you know what, we're not going to count the actions of Penn State on the field because of what their administrators did off it.
Let me wrap up with this. Where does Penn State go from here?
Well, it's going to be a long haul back. You know, the players are going to have to decide if they stay. That'll be the first news cycle out of here. And Bill O'Brien's got to do some soul searching because the prime of his coaching career is really going to be spent trying to recover from a mess that he had absolutely nothing to do with. I don't think a soul could blame Bill if he left. I think character-wise, he's the type of guy who's going to want to stay and gut it out. And those will be some of the early football subplots that Penn State faces from here.
Is there anything else that Penn State as an institution needs to do?
You know, it's so hard because the nature of the crimes were so egregious. So saying something's deserved in regarding the institution is very difficult. Penn State's going through right now a long period of self-reflection. They're going to pay out tens and probably hundreds of millions of dollars to the alleged victims, I'd imagine, in lawsuits. And it's just going to be a long haul for both the university and the football program to retain any sense of normal. I mean, today's another example that there may not be a normal at Penn State for a long time.
Pete Thamel, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Mike.